dialed in
to Bucks and Brews, you might hear something
you can use.
like tips on your cash or tips on the suds.
You're gonna want to
The
use
smarts of these stuff.
because they know the brews.
And they know the Bucks, and they know they can't help the stubborn fucks.
So listen up, because shit's not funny.
And save yourself some
Beer money. Bucks
and brews.
Bucks and
Bucks
and
brews.
brews.
Bucks and Brews.
Welcome back to Bucks and Brews. Nick, I was not going to drink today. I was just going to drink my iced tea. But I'm thoroughly pissed off, so I'll be drinking today.
Welcome to the drinking club.
Thank you. What do you have, my friend?
Tried and true, always the blue Bud Light. As you can see on my screen here, I have a few cans lined up. And what about you? What'd you decide to start drinking?
So I have Leinenkugel's Juicy Pear. Sorry, Peach. Juicy Peach. I don't know why I
say
keep
pear
hearing
all the
that.
time, yeah.
I do. I also have, I believe, a salted caramel porter from Pigeon Hill in my cooler.
There you go.
So hit us with your opening.
Yeah. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. If you wouldn't mind, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your family. We hope to bring you the best information possible. And most of our stuff comes from questions from you guys. So if you have any, reach out to us. We'd love to answer individual ones.
So I'm fucking pissed off at T-Mobile today.
Yeah.
I was texting you about this. 3 fucking hours on the phone last night, and I was cursing at this lady because I was furious. Trying to move our service to a different carrier.
Yep.
And my daughter bought her phone directly from Samsung.
Okay.
There's a lock on it. From what we can tell, because when you go to the screen that you can unlock it, it's locked by T-Mobile.
Sure.
When you log into the account, it shows T-Mobile has no locks. Samsung says they don't have the ability to lock it. So it's got to be T-Mobile. They kept switching us between the two companies all last night. Finally got a guy from Samsung. He's like, take it to I break, you fix. Or you break, I fix. Whatever the fuck it is. So we did that today. And he goes, I can't unlock it from a carrier. The carrier has to do this. And this shows that it is locked by T-Mobile.
Okay.
Great. He goes, go to the store. Great. Caitlin takes it into the store. He's done everything he can do. He can't do it. You got to call him again. How much fucking time am I going to spend on the phone with these motherfuckers? She still owes $400 on the phone.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to buy another fucking phone.
And then you'll have another line, right? I mean, that's the other problem.
No, they would. If I pay off the phone that she has, I can then transfer all of her shit to a brand new phone. But of course, I have to pay it off.
Sure.
Or she does. And then she's got, another 2 fucking year bill.
Yeah.
Because of how fucking phones are nowadays.
Well, and it brings up kind of today's episode of saving money isn't always the easiest thing to do, right?
It's usually very hard.
Right. And what you're doing right now, you're going through a bunch of stuff because the company isn't making any money off you. Why should they help you? And
that's basically what I have said to my wife.
Yeah.
They're not motivated to do anything about this because we're leaving their service.
Yep.
So they don't really give a fuck whether it gets fixed or not.
And the people on the phone, right?
Yeah.
They get paid the same. They don't care. They're hourly people and they're not making the company any money. They're, say they're there for a claims aspect.
Oh, I cursed this one fucking lady out last night and she tried to get bitchy with my wife. And my wife goes, listen, lady, you have no reason to be pissed off. You've been on the phone with me for 30 minutes. I've been on the phone for 2 fucking hours.
Yeah. And didn't get anywhere, huh?
Didn't get anywhere. We didn't go to sleep until almost 1 fucking a.m.
Jeez. Well, and maybe, right? I mean, escalate to a supervisor, and then constantly they're going to say, "Oh, a supervisor's not in. A supervisor's not."
Yep.
Who's running the show, right?
Exactly.
The same with like Comcast, right? If you're trying to get out of that bill for cable bill or DTE or not DTE, excuse me, DirecTV or Dish Network, if they're even a thing anymore.
They are.
Yeah, it's AT&T, like Uverse, stuff like that. So trying to switch internets, I mean, kind of the same type of a thing. Oh, well, you have to bring in all of your equipment, right? You have to bring it into you have to ship it and you have to do this. And there's so many steps and boundaries. They're so willing to help you set it all up. We'll come over there and set it up for you. And we'll get all of it done. And then when you go to cancel, it's, oh, you have to do all this, you have to do all this. And it's like, whoa, buddy. You're the one that brought all this. No, I mean, so that's why you find people just stick with it, hey, and that's, I'm in real estate, right?
Yep.
As you kind of point out, right? Like nobody's moving for $20,
Right.
right? Nobody's moving for $30, whatever it is. Yeah, okay, a couple $100 increase, people will move, but it's gotta make them want to. Otherwise, it's just not worth the effort to do it. So when you look at that type of a thing, it's well, it impacts. Well, is it worth my time? Is it worth my effort and my energy? Okay. I fell into the same type of a trap. When we first had internet years ago, 10 years ago, let's say, it was I paid $20 a month for cable and internet.
Yeah.
And they also gave me like $100 gift card, right? So it's, $240 for a year, but I got $100. So it was like $140. And then a year goes by and I negotiated another year because I was like, it's still really, really cheap. And then it went up to like 50 something. And I was like, kind of like this. All right, I'll use it. And then it went up after that. And I was like, nope, cancel it all. Like, oh, but you won't have any TV. And I was like, I don't care. I don't watch it. You don't have internet. And I was like, I don't need it. Like, and so we went, 10 years.
Yeah.
Now it's been, whatever. We went 10 years without it. And finally, on our phone plan, we added internet because it basically was free because how much we saved by going to Verizon from T-Mobile. And so, we have internet now, but I already know that, hey, if I stop doing all this, like it's going to be a headache to do it, and actually I was in your boat where my phone stuff is actually now officially all under my wife.
Yeah. Mine's going to be all under my wife.
Yeah. Like for my whole life, everything's been under me. And I've always, and all of a sudden, cause I went to go do something. They're like, oh, we have to ask your wife for permissions. And I was like, it's my account. No, it's not my account. Like it's hers. Like that's a weird one. And, so they make everything so difficult.
So this is going to date me.
Yeah.
When did you first get internet? Did you have it as a kid?
Yes.
So what did you have?
AOL.
Okay. And AOL costs what, like $20 a month?
I don't know the cost. My mom, it's one thing we talk about.
What
pots
year
and
did
pennies.
you get it?
Oh gosh. In the 90s, right? So I mean,
pretty early on in the 90s, or
let's just say I was probably, I'd say let's just guess 95, right? So
okay, so I got on in 95.
Maybe, yeah, say.
Do you want to know what AOL cost in 1995 to be on it?
How much?
$5 an hour.
Okay, yeah.
So if you wanted to be on, it was like a long distance phone call.
Yeah, you had the disk drive. Or you had to put the disc.
Yeah, you had to put the disc in. They gave discs with literally everything.
Yeah.
If you needed toilet paper, you got a fucking AOL disc. It was them, Prodigy, and CompuServe. Those were the three ways to fucking get on.
Yep.
We did an episode last week with Brian from Tug.
Yep.
And theirs is still TUG BBS because they originally started on the Prodigy billboard service.
Yeah.
So, that dates me because, 1995, I graduated high school. I was 17 years old. When I turned 18, I got online.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing to do is hop into the sports chat rooms and just argue about fucking sports with people constantly.
No, I never really, I've never been a tech person. And so I never really used the internet for what it possibly could do for me. Right. I hop into like Xanga chat, right. For fun. And, I'd only play games with my buddies, but like, I'd have to be all set up for me because I wouldn't know how to do any of that. And then, I went so long without, like, the other thing it would be is like, hey, I have to research a paper. Because what most people don't understand is like growing up poor, we had a set of encyclopedias. So, my elementary school, I remember I always did everything out of an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Hey, you have to go look up earthworms. You go grab E and boom, like earthworms, it pops up and that's the information I have about it. Now I can go on Google and like, it's so weird. Like I never really look back on that type of stuff and just go because I never took in that information. I just copied what I needed and forgot it. Like I couldn't tell you one fact about an earthworm at this moment.
Well, with how new the internet was, my freshman year of college was the fall of 95, spring of 96.
Yeah.
And I was online. I was on AOL all the time. I was on one of the big search engines at that point was Web Crawler. This was way before Google was a thing.
Sure.
And I didn't research any of my papers online because that wasn't a thing people really knew how to do yet, unless you were really good at being online.
Sure.
Like it took me 2 years being online to build my first web page. And I still went to the college's library
Yeah.
and got the card catalog and started looking shit up with a Dewey Decimal System. That's how I found things, and microfiche film so that I could, read old articles and shit.
Yeah.
That's how I wrote my papers my freshman year of college. And if I told my daughter that now, she'd look at me like I have 3 heads.
Yeah. One that's, I remember because I had to do it because every year we had to do a research on a different country, and then you had to bring a food in or something from the country. And I didn't use internet for that, right? Like I went again to an encyclopedia and I did Australia and Canada. And Canada, I happen to know just because it was donuts, and I was like, great, so I brought in donuts. But like Canada, I couldn't tell you what food I brought in for them. I can't remember that, but like it was whatever the encyclopedia. Oh, hey, this is the common food. This is the common this, and known for the. I probably went and got Vegemite or something. But like, yeah, I don't. I've never researched a paper. Like if I in high school, the research that I had to do just probably came up off the top of my head, or it was in the book that they had to give me, right? And like, I don't remember doing anything, so that's why I'm not a researcher now, right?
I did a couple papers I really liked in high school, but for the most part, I half-assed everything in high school.
Yeah.
But I was always really good at papers. So when I got to college, that was my favorite thing to do. Give me a paper to write.
Yeah.
I'll write it 4 times. I'm going to write the rough draft and then the second rough draft and then a polished copy and then the completed copy. And I would sit there for a month and just write.
That was my least favorite.
Loved it.
If you made me rewrite something, it's not who I am. Because I remember that in English class. It's like, hey, take this now, expand on it, now do this. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean expand? Like, I put down the facts. I did what the hell was needed. I've always been a very just straightforward go-to, right? And so like, I remember the teacher getting so pissed because I would just rewrite exactly what was on the paper because I'm like, it's already here. All I did was copy it and resubmit it. You didn't change anything. Yeah, I did. Right. I mean, there's a period, and then she like put them next to each other and side by side. And I was like, okay, like, what do you want me to expand? Well, think about this. Describe this girl's dress. And I was like, I didn't say anything about a dress. Well, exactly. That's the whole point. And I'm like, it's a fucking girl. Say my brain doesn't think that way, right?
Well, see, and if I was born when you were born, like I probably would have been a great middle and high school student. But like I wrote papers for high school on a fucking typewriter.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
And by the time I was probably a junior or a senior, maybe I was doing it, through Microsoft 3.1.
Yeah.
But again, the best version of Microsoft that came out was 95. I mean, it's not the best, but until 95 came out, 3.1 was, what you had, and it was barely a step up from DOS.
I remember a person, and I've always just learned tricks and tips from people.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, let's just say I needed 500 words or whatever it would be. If you double space after a period, it counts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember I would do that. And because they're like, hey, we need to fill a full page. It has to be size 12 font.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have this.
Double spaced.
Right. So like everything's double spaced, everything's lined out. And I was like, and then teacher's like, Jesus, bud. Like,
so, and this is the stupid thing, because that is technically how you were supposed to type. When you used a typewriter, there was always 2 spaces after every period.
Yeah.
And for some reason, in like the last 10, 15 years, they've said, you don't need to do that anymore. Fuck you. I'm 46 years old. I give you 2 fucking spaces after every period. And if you don't like it, you can kiss my ass.
Well, but line spacing, I would do 2, and
always
versus having it all cramped up.
Oh yeah.
I remember when I had to turn in handwritten stuff, I would skip lines, and I was like, oh, my handwriting's just so bad. And I filled this paper. No, you have to do every line, and so then I'd go get wide ruled, right? Because it was just so many less. The easy way out, right?
Favorite college teacher I had, his name was Stephen Lewisell. He was a psychology professor at Kalamazoo Valley Community College,
KVCC,
and he was there long enough. My mom also had him.
Nice.
he wasn't that old, but I mean, she had him like when she was getting her nursing degree in the early 80s.
Sure.
And I took his class, and the first day of class, he told all of us how much smarter his dog was than all of us. And I was like, well, this guy's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, but he's true.
And, you know, we'd sit there in class and stuff. And I remember if you had a B by the midterm, you could attempt to get an A in the class. And he had all this extra fucking work you had to do to get the A.
Sure.
I did not have a B. And I worked my ass off.
Yeah.
Okay. Because he made me actually give a shit. Like, I studied hard for the tests. My goal was always to get 20 out of 25. There were 25 questions on every fucking test. If I could get 20, I was a happy guy. I wrote one of the, probably the third or fourth highest graded paper in his class. I got a D.
Ouch.
I had it checked by my high school English teacher. He still found grammatical mistakes, at least according to him.
Yeah.
And he told me afterwards, is like, you wrote a great paper. I'm like, I got 68%. He goes, yeah, you did so much better than everybody else. One guy got 2.
Yeah, I would have been me.
Yeah.
Right?
And honestly, he said, I will never learn any of your names. I don't give a shit about who you are.
Yeah.
He knew my name.
Yeah.
And like, he made me work my ass off for a C fucking plus.
Yeah. Which has always been annoying to me.
Yeah.
Right. My wife, we think differently and we see things differently. She walked into a class for college and the professor stood up right in front and said, no one in here will get an A.
Yep.
And I looked at my wife and I said, why don't you stand up and walk out? When you set a bar that you cannot accomplish, there's no point in trying. Right. When perfect is never a possibility or close to, never make the attempt. Right. And that's how I feel. Right. Like, if you're automatically just setting B as your maximum that you're giving, great. B's become A's, and I'm gonna like, this is what I love about law, right? Like, hey, if you're setting it so that people are automatically going to fail, you've set society up to fail. They'll never have this. Don't offer it, right? Like, don't offer. So now anything that's 80% now becomes 100%, right? Like, whatever A's to B's start, 89% now it's 100, because you're not allowing it to be that way, right? I'm sure. If it starts out as, hey, I've never had anybody get 100% in here. I'm not saying it's not possible. That's a whole different story.
Well, see, and with him, it was, you're going to work your ass off to get an A.
Yeah.
And people knew going in, if you got a C in his class, you were pretty fucking smart.
Yeah.
And like, up to that point, I always underachieved in school. I just didn't give a shit because I knew I was smart. I just didn't care.
Yep.
And he made me actually care about what my grade was.
Yeah.
And I was so fucking proud of that C plus. And it really kind of changed my whole outlook on school. I started looking at things going, man, I'm paying for this now. If I'm going to pay for this shit, I better get good grades, because it's stupid to fucking pay for a D.
Yeah. Well, and we go back, and I've said it on air before or whatever, but I went to college for a very little bit, and I've skated through just like you did, right? And it's always, because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's all about what I'm getting at the end, right? To me, D's get degrees.
Well, and that's what the girls say too.
I've never been anything else. I don't give a shit. But my English class for college, I turned in my paper and the professor handed it back to me and said, if you ever throw anything like this at me again, I will fail you and don't worry about it. And so I said, what? And so I had my wife write it, right? And hey, this is so much better. So my wife had to write everything after that, because again, like, I don't care how it gets done as long as it gets done, right? I want to put in effort and I want to put in stuff, but things I care about, I'm never going to. And it's funny. I put a post out on Facebook or whatever about, hey, I'm looking to raise money, and if you have any questions, call me, text me, PM me. A bunch of people, they don't want to hop on, and I understand that. So like, they'll call or they'll text me, and I just give them my little thing. And it's just to say, if you want more information, like, I'm not great with verbal or with text or written. If you want to meet up, I would gladly, talk this over with you. Also, I have a lawyer that writes up all my information for me. So that way, because I can pay people for that.
Yeah.
Like, so hey, everything I'll explain to you is here. It's written. I didn't write my own lease. I got it from somebody else. Like I didn't, so I know what they say because again, me writing it's just not. I don't need to. I can find ways to get what I need done in other ways.
Well, I've said this before. I come from the George Carlin school of, we're going to say sarcasm, maybe.
Mhm.
The thing I learned from Carlin was learn words.
Yeah.
And the bigger vocabulary you have, the better you can use those words. So critically think, be smart, have a large vocabulary. I mean, those are the type of things that I found were important.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily find high school to be important because they weren't teaching me those things. Yeah, maybe the vocabulary to an extent, but they were never teaching me how to critically think.
Right.
They were teaching me, facts or the opinion of, whether Shakespeare was, a good writer or not. Okay. I don't really give a shit about Shakespeare. I still don't to this day.
Yep.
Did he write some good stuff? Sure, he wrote some good stuff. I don't care. I'm not reading Romeo and Juliet. I never read it. Never going to. The only thing Shakespeare I read was King Lear, and it was fucking horrible because they made us read it in Old English.
Sure.
I hated it. The only book in school they made me read that I liked was Harper Lee, To Kill a Mockingbird.
To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah.
That was the only book they made me read that I liked.
There you go.
I read 2 different Steinbeck books and hated both of them.
I just don't enjoy reading. My comprehension of it isn't great, right?
You know what I'll read? Give me somebody's
Sports-
biography. Yeah, sport biography.
Yeah.
I'll read that.
Well, and it's funny because people hate the misuse of there, and there,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah, I'm one of those.
when I read it, my brain knows what the fuck you're saying.
Mhm.
I don't care, right?
I very much care.
I know, but to me, when we have a conversation, do you spell it out in your head?
I mean,
Hey, they're going to the mall.
I know specifically which one I'm talking about.
But
So do I consciously spell it out? No, but it consciously in my mind, I know which one.
if you wrote "they're going to the mall" to me in 3 different texts, 3 different ways, all it would read to me is the exact same.
See, and it doesn't to me.
Sure, and if I see the apostrophe, I'll know. Hey, they are going to the mall. But like otherwise, I couldn't tell you. I don't care. Like the fact is, they're going to the mall. Yep, they're going to the mall. They're going to the mall.
See, and for me,
They're
words are
straight going to the mall.
so important. So, like, the one that pisses me off the most, I could care less.
I couldn't care less.
You couldn't care less. If you could care less, there is a degree that you can care less than what we're talking about. You couldn't fucking care less, which means there is no way in hell you could give a shit any less than what you do right fucking now.
Well, it goes back to that. It goes back to the A, right?
Yeah.
And that surprised me. That doesn't piss you off. That like a B is the max you could possibly get with an A, because that's the same as I could care less. Okay, you
see. I don't mind the extra work for the A. I would mind very much if they said, you will never get an A in this class. Fuck you. I'm getting an A.
It's when you make impossible a thing, it's not a fair fight, right? And I'm not about that.
I remember getting a B+ in one of my core classes for my finance degree. And I literally hammered the fucking professor afterwards going, I'm going to tell you right now, I did the best fucking work in your class. You're just an asshole.
Yeah.
And they didn't like that. I really didn't give a shit because you gave me a fucking B+ and I didn't fucking deserve it.
Yeah. Well, we go back to, so go back to like getting out of things, right?
Yeah.
And saving yourself money. So
Yeah,
in college, and don't quote me on this,
Mhm.
but like CC, when I went, if you dropped a class before it started, you got 100% refund.
Correct.
If you went the 3 weeks, whatever it was, you got 75. Up to the
I want to say it was
quarter, you got 50%.
I want to say it was up to the holiday. You got 75, which was like a week, maybe 2.
Sure. Enough to try it out. And then you got 50%
Mhm.
up to like a quarter or whatever. And then it was just no money or something.
Yeah, and if you withdrew by like a week before Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
you just got a W,
yeah.
but it didn't affect your grade point.
And so but I've dropped a class before, right? Like, because I stand up for what I believe, right? So the I didn't drop bowling, but my bowling class was unfair for me. Okay. So I walk in and I was a bowler and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna take a free class. So the coach, or sorry, the teacher, she walks in and she's like, all right, basically this is your grade improvement based off of this. If you gain these many pins, this is what it is.
How are you going to do that?
And that's like, and so I go in there and I bring my own bowling balls and shoes and stuff. And so I was like, and she tells us how this is done. So I start guttering everything.
Of course you do, because that's the only way to improve.
Everything. Right. Like when I tell you I guttered everything, like I'm rolling the ball with a fucking pinky. And she walks up and she's like, you have your own stuff. What are you doing? And I was like, I'm not trying to disappoint you. Like I averaged 225, right? I know for a fact there's zero way that I can improve this amount of pins, no matter how hard I've tried. Like I've devoted my life to it. Like, and I'm explaining this to her. And I was like, so if I just sit here and gutter, all I have to do is throw one decent game. Like,
Right.
and I will increase this by so much, you'll just go, holy shitballs. And she goes, well, I've never had a bowler like actually come and fucking do this. And she goes, so she looks and she's like, all right, I restate, if you average above 190 the whole time or whatever, like you get an A in the class. Like you know what you're doing in the bowling thing. And I was like, and so literally next thing I know, wham, I just like I bowled, right? And she's like, holy shit. Like, so, you know, but like that when you set the bar to where you can't do it, I'm gonna either A, find a way, or I'm gonna drop, right?
Right.
Because to me it was just it was a relax. Yeah, I took it on. It was the only thing I took on a Friday. And you know, I looked at it and said, hey, you've set the bar so stupid. Even if it was 10 pins to get an A for like improvement, there was zero chances I was going to do that, right? Like one mistake anywhere in the time, I would have been screwed. So and she just was like, you're really willing to just show up every week and throw it in the gutter. And I was like, yes, every fucking, and like, I'll throw one strike. You know, all you want is improvement. And I know where the halfway mark is. I know what I'll average. And I know that my improvement will be 100 pins. And she's like, okay. So, and you know,
I mean, literally, you're just going to work 710s the whole fucking time.
The entire thing.
And
right?
you shot 710s.
Yeah, the entire thing, right? And because it wasn't worth it for me. And she, you know, once she's seen me bowl, she's like, he's not lying, right? Like nothing out of my mouth came to be a lie.
You know what my blow off was?
What's that?
It was golf.
Yeah.
I took a golf class.
Yeah.
And I got an A because literally they didn't have any of that. If you showed any improvement, they were happy you got an A.
Right. Well, and that's what I mean. That's the whole basic idea. Is like you're supposed to learn what to do, you know. And she's like, well, "Why didn't you go take a different sport?" And I was like,
"Why? Why?"
First of all, I've devoted my life to this. Second of all, like I'm in college now. I'm not in high school, right? Like, and you're forcing me to take something, and I figured it's just a money grab, so I might as well do the one thing I love,
right,
and get me through this. I was like, honestly, if I could, I'd take it every semester. And have this. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah, I'll gladly pay the money to make my average or my GPA higher, because I can walk into something and just go, here it is. This is what, like, you guys have to report.
You bring up a great point. It's a money grab. So I mean, we talk about like student loan forgiveness.
Tell me why bowling helps you in any way, shape, or form in college.
It doesn't.
Exactly.
But I mean, we talk about like student loan forgiveness and shit. And when we look at it, a lot of college courses are literally just that. They're money grabs.
100%.
So my daughter had to take ancient world history.
For what degree?
For a graphic design degree. Yeah. And I was furious.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter what she does in that class. It doesn't really benefit her degree at all.
Yep.
So I'm like, hey, that's cool. You need help? Let me know.
Yeah.
Because I'm happy to go over your papers or help you, you know, with your whatever you need. Yep. Let me know. Yep. Because this class is literal bullshit for you.
Well, and to me, I think America's dumb. I mean, you know, I don't remember the show or whatever it is, but it's he's a great actor. Played in Dumb and Dumber, not Jim Carrey. Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels.
He sits on a panel or whatever, and the girl's like, why is the
That's Newsroom, which is a great fucking show, and she asks, why is America the greatest country in the world?
And he like, and then he goes off and he states why we're not.
Right.
And he's like, look, in literacy, we're like 27th in this, and you know, so I went to things that it's hard to explain. I actually went to a charter academy for a couple of years. Okay. In 2 third grade sessions. I overly excelled in mathematics and science, and I of course, failed in reading comprehension and spelling.
Of course.
And trust me, and call it lazy, but like there was weeks where, I mean, my mom and I would study every night, right? Because you get your spelling list Monday, your test is Friday, and I would study every night for an hour a night, and then we knew these 20 words, and I would still not get them, right?
Yep.
Like, but I could memorize enough to get me past, type of thing.
Yep.
And so, but they have, and so then I transfer out of that school into Byron Center. And so I walk into like fourth grade there, halfway through a fourth grade, and they're learning shit I learned in second grade.
Mhm.
And so of course I was bored as hell, right?
Of
I'm like,
course.
so I get into like fifth grade, and it's kind of the exact same thing. I already know this, right? This is what they're teaching in third grade here. Like,
Right.
you've done nothing. Like, so when you ask me, I think, okay, so in high school you have to take history,
Mhm.
which I think should be taught in middle school. You have to take all of these classes that don't teach you anything. It just opens your horizon to what things are out there. And that bugs me, right? Because I think high school, especially like your last 2 years, should be so focused on getting you to what direction you want to go. I mean, how many kids, when you ask them, what are you going to go to college for, have no fucking clue,
None of them know.
right? So like, but how many of the kids that do know are so specifically into knowing exactly what they're doing,
Yeah, that's a much higher percentage.
right? Like, I had a buddy who he's like, look, I want to be a historian, right? Like, he could tell you every country and every capital of every country, right? He's that nerd guy who, then you ask him questions about who's the czar or who's the president. Oh, they don't have it. They're an ambassador, whatever the hell these words are.
Right.
He just knew all this shit. And it's like, dude, that's what you're doing for your life. Like, you know this, you do this. We had one kid who was so into politics, like he literally ran for politics. Like, and I had a buddy who, I mean, from freshman year, all he ever said, and I don't, he's healthy inside, but like, he was going into the military. He's like, I'm going to be a medic in the military. That's what I'm doing. And no lie, gets through his basic, does whatever. Last 2 weeks, gets shot in the ass, Forrest Gump style. He gets shot in the ass and he's out of the military.
Right.
But like, he devoted his whole like time. He knew what he was doing, and then he's out because.
Well, I think in Jeff Daniels' speech, he talks about the things we're number one at.
Yeah.
The amount of
Obesity.
yes. The amount of adults that are incarcerated,
Mhm.
and the number of people that believe in angels.
Yeah.
And military spending,
Mhm.
which we spend more than the next 26 nations combined. Most of them are our allies.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they say this shit like, Cheeto McCocknugget's big thing is make America great again.
Yeah.
When were we great?
Right.
When we look at the history of this country, we stole this land from the native people, and then we killed them all off, and then we enslaved a whole bunch of other people because they didn't look like us.
Yeah.
And when I say us loosely because I'm only half white. The whole fucking country was built on theft and genocide.
Yeah.
So when exactly was it great? And who was it great for? It was great for white European males.
And I know we're not getting on our topic, but America was founded on the idea of freedom of religion.
Mhm.
Okay, and there was supposed to be a separation of church and state,
Mhm.
right? And in God we trust is on money.
And when did they get that?
When
did they?
years and years
It was like the 1950s.
right?
So that wasn't a thing until the 1950s.
There's so much in this, and people who are elected stand up and they're like, oh, this is how I believe God and this and that, and it's like, whoa, like, again, your opinions don't matter, right? Like, I'm a fact-based person, right? Like, this is what it is. I was watching another show or whatever, and he was talking about how do we know that there's not psychics and stuff like that.
Right.
And the guy goes, fucking science. And it's like, yeah, and I get it, right? Because
Again, if there were psychics, why did they never win the lottery?
Right. Well, because they can't do it for that. They can just talk to other people. But you know, I don't believe in ghost.
Nope.
Aliens. I believe that there probably is a possibility that that's a thing, right? And I think there could be a outside living something somewhere.
So if we believe in science,
Mhm.
there's an infinite amount of universes in the world.
Yep.
In the world. In
The universe.
the universe. I mean, there obviously are different universes that we can't see
Galaxies.
or
and shit,
find.
Yeah.
So the odds that there are aliens, pretty fucking good. Because the odds that just this one fucking planet made living and breathing and thinking organisms
Yep.
is pretty fucking pompous.
Well, and to me, I it's funny because as a white American, we always think that anything that doesn't speak English is an alien.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, so you go down to like they're still finding things. So it was a really fun fact. I don't know what I was watching. We know more about space
Mhm.
than we do the lowest depths
Mhm.
of
The
the
ocean.
water, right? And that blows my fucking mind because it's so hard to get there. I mean, granted, the guys that blew up, they're gonna find it, but bad joke. It's
They're not going to report back though.
right, but like so like that idea, and they talked about how much we have no idea. So we're still finding sea creatures, we're still finding things. So even if there's a creature, right, and let's go with barnacle or something on a rock that's out there type thing. That's an organism that has a potential to have a life form of something. If you believe in that we come from monkeys, right? I mean, monkeys had a language and then different languages developed, right? English wasn't a language until it was developed, right? I mean, Hebrew and there's so many different languages out there. Everything comes off of a different way. So somebody created this aspect of things. So like one was just the beginning. So, I look at things like that.
Well, and they say those things. So they'll say, well, if we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? Okay, here's the deal. We're a primate just like a monkey. We didn't necessarily come from monkeys, but we're very closely related.
Yeah.
And we came from like Cro-Magnon man. Do you see any of them around anymore?
Right.
Did they exist?
Yeah.
They don't, because we evolved from that. You look at some of the fish and wildlife that's out there. Again, some crazy number, like 90% of the things that have lived on Earth
Are not around anymore.
are gone.
Yeah.
They're extinct.
Mhm.
And that, that sucks. So like, you look at
Was it a dodo bird?
possibly.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at like the endangered species list, and that sucks.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because we're horrible fucking things.
Yeah.
But some of that is they just die out because they stop reproducing and they just don't exist anymore.
Yeah. I mean, right, and I my opinion is just what it is. It's an opinion, right? It's not based off of a fact on certain things, right? Such as global warming,
Mhm.
right? I haven't devoted my life to figuring it out, but when somebody tells me that there's an endangered species that it wasn't killed off by man, okay, what was it, right? Well, polar bears, right? Oh, they're dying off and this and that because of global warming. Okay, like you did your research. I'm gonna believe this because I didn't go out and take a look for myself, right?
Well, and why are polar bears endangered now? We have less ice.
Yeah.
And they used to be able to go from ice down into the water and hunt and shit and get to the next piece of ice. And it's so far, now they're drowning in shit.
Yeah. And so I look at it. Sorry. My niece is having a swimming competition right now for championships.
Oh, nice.
And she's a very good swimmer. Usually takes first, blah blah blah. She came in at like 36.8 seconds, and the winner had 30 seconds. Like she got annihilated. Yeah. Apparently the person that's in first is like really, really good. So but right, I look at all of these things that we talk about and how hard it is to get out of, how hard it is for people to comprehend that we are not the greatest country. Because we lack so much, and so I have to figure out how to put it out there. I want to do a passion project where it's kind of like Sarah's book, but I want it to be careers that you don't know of, right? The example I kind of, hit it back up for me. I have two friends that are accountants. So when you think of an accountant, you think of
Taxes.
my accountant, taxes, H&R Block,
Yep.
right? They actually work for nobody. They work for Netflix.
Okay.
And they go on to like shows, and they're the accountant for the shows
Mm-hmm.
or for the movies. And it's like, holy shit, nobody ever taught me this, right? I posted the joke. It was a joke for me. I was at not Gator Mountain, Cabela's.
Yeah.
And somebody was cleaning
the aquarium.
and I was like, damn, nobody came to my fucking school and said this could be a job where you can just dive in, swim with these fish, clean aquariums. Like, oh man, like I think there's so many things out there that people don't know about unless you know the right person, right? It's all about knowing people. But like, I think if we can create this thing that says, hey, what's a thing that you do that people don't know about or have, right? Like, man, these are jobs that people need.
Well, you and I argue a lot politic wise.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you a couple leading questions here.
Yeah.
We pay a lot in taxes in this country, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that, an average person pays more than, rich people.
Okay.
I'm not talking money wise. I'm talking percentage wise.
Sure.
What do we get for that? Are we getting
We get
paid time off? Are we getting maternity leave? Are we getting health care? What are we getting?
You're getting healthcare at a discount.
No, we're not.
Well, so in the way it's sold to you is yes, you are, right? So
For
hey,
example, hold on. For
Sure.
example, I went to the ER.
Yep.
I went to Trinity, so St. Mary's
Mm-hmm.
downtown. I have $150 ER copay.
Okay.
Which means if I go to the ER,
$150.
it's $150, but that's it.
just to walk in.
It's $150 and the rest gets billed to my insurance.
Correct.
I just got a $75 bill from them.
Okay.
I emailed them. I don't have a $75 bill. I have a $150 copayment.
Yep.
If you want another $75, you better find a way to get it from my insurance because I ain't paying you another motherfucking dime.
Well, is yours not set up to 80/20?
It is, but if you're in the ER,
Mhm.
tests and stuff are covered. You're in the ER.
Okay.
If I get admitted, I'll have extra bills.
Okay.
All they did in the ER was give me a CT.
Is your medicine and prescriptions and all that like covered? Did they give you an IV or anything? Like,
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing.
Oh.
I got a shot,
So,
which is covered.
okay.
I had the same shit happen when Metro tried to kill me.
Yep.
You know how much I paid? $150.
Well,
And they did several CTs, and I did not get admitted.
so I look at it, and that's the thing. I will give credit to, I don't know who it goes to, just to be honest. It might be Trump, and it might be a Biden thing, but the discount technically it all goes back to Obama, but the Obamacare aspect, and then the government is funding basically like a business percentage of it. So like private healthcare should cost you $750 a month. Right now they have, let's just say anywhere from like 500 to 700.
They have subsidies,
Yeah, right.
which
And
goes back to the Affordable Care Act.
Yep.
Enacted during Obama's administration.
But I don't know where the subsidies that keep getting re-signed come from.
That just keeps rolling through
Do we know how long it's going to go
till Congress decides they don't want it to go anymore.
Is that what it is? Okay. So like,
Basically, yeah.
and I'm saying, I don't know, I'm not afraid to tell people I don't know everything, right? It's not something but my mom had to go, and I was like, man, she's paying $40, $50. I was like, that's great. So she has cheaper healthcare now than she had when she was working at Steelcase.
Correct.
Right. And I was like, $50 a month. Like, how much were you paying? She's like, oh, I was paying like $50 a paycheck.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, and then her coverage is really the same. Nothing's ever perfect, but like, it's either, hey, she pays cheaper on medicine here and a little more here, or she pays, a little bit extra on medications, but
Cheaper
like
at a doctor.
yeah, like cheaper everything. Like her deductibles are actually really, really small. It's like $1,000. Like, That's one thing that made it so that way I'm sitting here going, I'll do private healthcare. Like knowing how much she pays, seeing her coverage, like it's no fucking different.
Answer me how every other developed nation in the world can figure out healthcare, but the United States cannot.
Oil.
Expand.
Okay, so I will say, all right, so the answer is two things: taxes and oil. Okay, so every other nation, their oil costs are, they're paying the same amount that we are, but their taxation it goes back to, right? So when you go to Canada, it's $6.50. Let's just say $7 a gallon right now. We're at $3.50. Okay, so that $3.50 extra goes towards paying, this.
I would rather pay that.
Right. I say you would eventually get used to that type of a thing, but when you go to Europe, right? So unless you're in an oil rich area, but like they're the exact same. Like gallons of gas are actually very expensive everywhere except for a very oil rich place. And
I would say Canada is the exception to the rule, because if you talk about Europe, they have such a great infrastructure that you don't have to have a car to go places.
Right.
It's like living in downtown Chicago. You hop on the bus, you hop on the L in Chicago, obviously. That they have trains, they have buses, they have public transportation that is affordable for you to take and get places. What do we have here?
Nothing. But I mean, we're so far apart that we have so much more land and things like that.
I mean, we do, but we could have an infrastructure that worked. There's just no money in it.
That's exactly it, right? Like who's going to fund? But and now to go back and say, hey, we made a mistake, you just can't do it, right?
You could. You just have to scrap the shit we've done and actually care about working for shit.
The amount of people. Yes.
We don't care about working for shit. We just care about
what's
throwing shade on everybody else.
What's benefiting me,
right? Which is total horseshit. That Mike and I were talking about this the other day. So the thing that pisses me off about the two fucking party system that we have, is when you look at conservatives, they go, how does this benefit me? And when you look at liberals, they go, how does this benefit everyone?
No, I disagree.
I don't. How?
So they don't give. So if you talk to a liberal, like you're okay, watch this.
Yeah, I'm leftist.
Yep. So how much money should Bezos make?
Bezos should make as much money as he can, but he should be taxed on everything that he fucking makes.
Okay. How much should any other rich person make?
As much as they can, but they should be taxed on it.
Okay. Now, what about Sam Walton's heirs?
Same fucking thing.
Okay. So I mean, right, but
I don't have a problem with them making money. I have a problem with them paying less percentage in taxes than what I'm fucking paying.
So here, and I feel like it's a made up answer because it's what you want me to hear, but
it's not. I don't,
because fixing that is saying, hey, because normally your answer is, well, I want the employees to be paid a fair wage.
So no,
so you can't.
But that's not what you asked.
Right, but you can't have
you asked how much they should make. They should make whatever they can make. Should they pay a good wage to their employees? Absolutely, they fucking should.
Sure.
Are they making less money? So like we're in the middle of the AFTA or the Screen Actors Guild and the WGA strike right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And basically the fucking heads of the studios have said, we're going to wait them out until they lose their houses.
Yeah. And Ron
Perlman fucking went off on was it the head of Disney, Bob Iger?
Was it? Yeah.
I think it was. Basically saying, fuck you, motherfucker. There's more than one way to lose your house.
Yeah.
But at the end of the fucking day, I mean, do I have sympathy for an actor that makes $10 million a year? I have more sympathy for him than I have for an executive that makes $100,000 or $100 million a year.
Yeah.
Because what has Bob Iger done that's benefited my life?
Allowed you to watch movies.
No, he hasn't even done that. I mean, he just sits at the front of the company.
Right.
But, when you look at, let's say, Chris Evans, I really enjoy the Avengers movies. I like the Captain America movies. He actually does benefit my life because I like watching that.
Sure.
So,
but without the ability to watch Avengers, or so without Bob having the ability for you to watch it, and he fronts all the money, and
He doesn't front shit. The
Well,
company does.
right, which is him.
His job, no, it's not him. His job is to make as much money for the shareholders as he can. The shareholders add nothing to the business.
Well, the shareholders. Okay, so that's I want to talk about that specifically. The shareholders are what fund the money for the movie.
But do they?
Yeah, I mean, right? So,
Only
like,
in a small amount, because how many of them are doing stock buybacks with all of the fucking money they're making?
sure, but
So a small percentage, yes, the shareholders are funding.
that's the whole basic idea of it, right? When you break it down to the basics, is hey, we're going to raise money for this movie to get built, right? And so hey, let's take Tom Hanks for example.
Mhm.
Forrest Gump. They're like, hey, we can't shoot all this, blah blah. He's like, hey, I'll make $400,000. I think it went down to. It was something fucking really really stupid, but you're giving me
Points on
royalties
yeah.
and all this. And then he goes and makes like $40 million. Okay, so he said, hey, I'll give up this to go make this. And that's basically what you're doing when you buy stock. So when I go buy a stock, and let's just say Gentex, right?
Mhm.
Yes, my $20, but it's supposed to be 100,000 people's $20. So, right, like $2 million. And now they can expand a new building or put a new piece of machinery in, just one piece, right? It's going to cost you two. And now you've doubled production, and now we double production, which means we double sales, we double everything. Like, great. Now we have so much more coming in, right? And so my stock's going to go higher.
When you went to Florida,
Yeah.
did you go to any of the Disney parks?
Is Universal a Disney park?
No.
No.
How much were the Disney parks?
Same price, $150.
Where do you think they're getting all their fucking money?
Oh, people that are walking in, you and
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, they're getting it from the people walking into the parks. They're getting it from the fucking movie tickets. They're not getting it from the fucking shareholders. I buy a share of Disney. I give them, let's say, $90.
Yeah.
Okay, for a share. So yeah, they get some money from me, but they get way more fucking money from me when I walk through the entrance to the goddamn park.
Yeah. But let's say, so, I mean, it's not Disney, but let's go back to Universal, right? When
Yeah.
when Harry Potter was put in,
Mhm.
they go to the shareholders aspect, and so they make this big announcement, right? They're like, hey, we're going to put in a Harry Potter thing, and then people are like, oh, this is gonna be a big boom, right? It's insider trading when you know about it ahead of time, but like, oh, this is gonna be a big boom. So then you go and you go, hey, now we're putting up 2 roller coasters, a fucking Hobbit little area, a huge train to go between the 2 little things. And so it's growth, and then you get paid back, and you're hoping just as much as when I lend out on a house, right? Like,
Do you own stock?
I do quite a bit.
Okay. Do you vote in the proxy votes?
Some of them,
Right, some of them.
yes.
So basically, in some of them, your voice is not heard.
Never heard.
They don't give a shit.
They
They-
even on the
they-
ones I do, it's not.
They tell you how they want you to vote.
Yeah.
So basically, all you're doing is handing them your money and hoping you're getting more money back for that later.
That's exactly it.
It doesn't give you anything other than the appearance
Mhm.
that you hold some kind of ownership in that stock.
Yeah, no, you're putting all of your trust into Bob. He's going to make you the most money possible, right? What is he? He's Disney, right?
And is he worth it?
I mean, if you ask the shareholders, I mean, apparently, yes.
I mean, if you ask the shareholders,
Right.
yes, but is he honestly? No.
I don't think.
What decision does he make that really moves the needle?
Right. What to expand, when to expand. At the end of the day, it all comes down to him, right?
It doesn't though. They have an entire board.
Yeah.
He doesn't just have free reign to do what the fuck he wants.
Well, let's say, but he gets presented this stuff, then goes to the board and says, hey, this is what we're going to vote on. Yes, no.
Yeah.
Right? And the board says, yeah, you can spend the money. No, you can't.
Correct. So he has some power, but it's
Yeah.
not like he's the be all end all.
Right.
So you have internet.
I do.
You have Amazon, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
Have you watched Air?
No, I don't want to.
Why?
It looks dumb.
It was great.
Was it?
Watch it.
Yeah.
Watch it just for the interaction between the guy that signed Jordan and Jordan's mother.
I've seen the one with him and his dad, I think. No, sorry, that was Magic Johnson. I've seen that.
That was great too.
But
But
all right.
I'm watching this.
Courtney wants to see it.
And
I'm so burned out with all these basketball because, like, we're in a side tangent. Who's the greatest basketball player of all time?
It's Jordan.
Okay, right? Like people are like, oh, LeBron and Kobe, and it's like, no,
Kobe's closer to Michael than LeBron will ever be.
That's exactly it, right? Like,
and it's because Michael just wanted to fucking destroy you, and that was a Kobe thing.
Right. And
LeBron's not that way.
LeBron's about money, right?
He's about, I mean, he does great stuff too,
He did
but
start a
he's
school,
way
give
more
credit.
about money.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that impressed me the most, you know, in the movie, they basically said, if you want to get to Michael, you got to get to the mother.
Yeah.
And, you know, when she called to say, yeah, we'll take the deal with Nike, but he wants a percentage of every shoe that's sold. The guy's like, yeah, we don't do that's never been done. She goes, and you've never had somebody like my son.
Yeah.
And I mean, it takes really special people to change an entire structure.
I fully agree. So here's a thing. I'll put it in this term. So I now know of somebody. Okay, so when you get hired in at this company, currently starting salary is $60,000. What do you say about the people who have been there for 6 years and they're making 61,000?
I mean, that sucks.
Right, absolutely, right. And so my thing is hey, you need to go back in and renegotiate your stuff.
I would agree with that, but my bigger issue
the
is
person I have trying to apply walked in and said, hey, and they didn't know that this was a 60,000 base start type thing. They walked in and said, hey, I want 75.
Okay.
And they were appalled. They're like, whoa. And I was like, no, when you do this numbers, when you do these math, this is what it is. Like, and I technically told them to go for 82, you know? But you know, come to find out, and then we find out that there's a person that's been there for 6 years making 1,000 more than what a base person would start.
See, and the
6 years.
The one that really pisses me off is the one that's making 56.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's okay. We're hiring you in at 4,000 more, but you have no experience doing this job.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, when I worked at Gentex, you know, I got my bump, and I was making $13.40, and we were sitting in the break room, and they were like, oh, and I was like, yeah, I make $13.40. And one guy just lost his shit and got up and like left or whatever. Like, what the hell's his problem? Well, come to find out, he'd been there for 8 years or something like that. And he
makes less.
Yeah, he was at 1305 or 1315, right? So they had to retroact all of his pay up to my new pay for the past like 3 months or whatever when they went to the new increase of a level D type thing. And so, you know, and then he's just mad at me because now they just bumped him up to 1340, right? And that's where I'm at. So now we're even, right? He's like, I've been here 8 years, 9 years, and you're making more than me, just as much as me. And I was like, yep. Why is that my problem?
It's not.
Right? Like,
it's absolutely not your problem, and he should not be pissed off at you about it. He should be pissed off at the company for not valuing him as an employee.
I didn't screw you over, right? In any way. Like, you know, it's like me being mad at you for not going and negotiating your own pay oh, well, you know, that was the hardest thing with Gentex was like, you know, for the longest time, it was like, hey, the max you can get is 30 cents, right? Per review. And it was twice a year. So 60 cents most. And then they changed it to like 50 or 75, whatever. I got really, you know, I got fortunate in my raises and how it went. So I only got like 1 30-cent raise, and everything else after that went crazy. And then they gave us they took 5% from our bonuses. So that went and gave us 5% increases because they didn't want our bonuses to be up to like 26% because they're like, hey, we'd like to see an 18 is really where we want to be. So, you know, they're just like, hey, we're making enough money. We're going to give everybody a 5% increase, which is great. That's how a company should work, right?
It is.
You were seeing this, and you know, again, I give Gentex credit in how they do things, but like, you know, they're also the first to screw over an employee aspect of things. So,
well, you know, even with the company here, you know, one of the workers is like, when Dawn talked about hiring a manager, was a little annoyed that they weren't in the conversation.
Yeah.
And Dawn's like, yeah, you have other plans. You know, you want to be a manager here, and you know, you're looking to basically phase out our place for that place, and that's fine. You can absolutely do that. But then you can't ask me to invest in you if your plan is to go be a manager over there. And I mean, they understood. They're like, yeah, that does make sense. I'm looking for people here that want to be here. This is what they want. So like we interviewed somebody today.
Mhm.
And one of the best answers I heard, I don't want to be full-time. I'm looking for something that's part-time that will work around what I need it to do. Yeah, that's what we're looking for too.
Yep.
And if, this person works, then great. They, this is a place that they can absolutely grow into, and, maybe they'll become a manager, whatever. But they're realistic walking in, knowing that we're not a full-time job and we never will be. The 2 full-time people we have is the one, Chris, who makes the pickups, and Dawn, who owns the business.
Well, and I think that, you're still very new, but
Mhm.
I also think it reflects, me being me. If I walked into it, I, I would love to sit for an interview as not Nick to you guys. I would like to sit there and go, hey, these are the questions I'm asking. Where are you headed? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see me? Because if I'm stuck at literally just part-time for this, and you're not talking about growing into more and more places, or, hey, we hope to get to 5 days a week, we hope to do this, like, we hope these things, like, then you're failing me to have a guarantee, right? And I also, one of the things I ask is, hey, what do you top out at, right? And again, I will ask these one, I have no problem with you telling me, hey, there's no top out. Our raises won't be as big on a constant, but you'll never top out.
So I will tell you this. I cannot speak for my wife.
Right.
What my goal is this turns into a profit sharing company.
Sure.
That's what I want. I want everybody to enjoy the fruits of this labor if, they're willing to put in the hard work like we are.
Yeah.
So like this weekend, on Saturday, we had one employee that unfortunately has to leave. And then Mike came up and helped a little bit, and me and Dawn. So I did a lot of heavy lifting on Saturday after doing heavy lifting on Friday and Thursday. And then I came in Sunday and it was just me and Dawn. So I did all the heavy lifting on Sunday.
Yeah.
We had an appointment today with 4 rooms. I did a bunch of heavy lifting in those 4 rooms today.
Yep.
I'm exhausted. I'm 46 years old. I'm a fat guy. I'm exhausted. I'm sore.
Yeah.
I don't want to work that hard. I don't mind doing it a couple days a week.
Yep.
But now in the last 6 days, I've done it 5 of them.
Well, the only reason you're doing it currently, one, is you're understaffed, and 2, your wife is injured.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Given the opportunity that your wife could do it.
Yeah.
And, I don't even care about overstaffed. Given the opportunity that your wife could do it, you would do half of what you've done.
Correct.
Right? Like, you're stepping up because you have to.
I have to.
Not because
again, like a guy like you and I are.
Yeah.
You have 2 options. You can step the fuck up.
No.
Or you can just give up.
Right. And I don't know. I'm not, what she has or had or whatever it is not in her control. But like, if it was just her wanting to be lazy, there's 0 chances I would expect any employee to like step up and do extra rooms or do anything like that. Because again, it goes back to, hey, this is what, and if Dawn started this business and never once touched a thing, right? Like always it was the employee's responsibility, that'd be a whole different story, right? But like, if you put yourself into this position, and that's what I tell people is like, work yourself out of things, but also start your business, because my buddy's dealing with this right now in his flooring business. He's like, dude, I don't want to do installs anymore. Great. Hire a person to do installs. So now we've gone 6-8 months. Dude, I got to find a salesman. I just want to go do the papers and do this and follow-ups and run around. Okay. So hire the salesman. You have the installer. He's stuck with you. And yeah, you might have to do like, and if your salesman's good enough, guess what? You have a second installer. Like, you might have to go back to installs for a while. Hopefully that's the biggest thing. But at that time you should be finding more people. Like, this is called growth at this exact moment. This is the best thing that could have ever happened to you, right? Dealing with that with a buddy of mine. We went on a boat ride Friday, and we're, all of us are kind of in a real estate game one way or another.
Yeah.
And then he's like, man, I've been doing this for, 15 months. I gotta, it's like the phone just constantly and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, the best thing was the amount of calls that I get. Apparently I lost, my phone went to like do not disturb or something, or lost internet. So I didn't get any ringing on the boat. I was like, that's weird. Cause like, and we're telling him, I'm like, man, you need to hire somebody to answer the phone. Yeah, but and I was like, no, if you don't train somebody, that's your responsibility. Yes, you might have to go through a couple of these, but you could pay somebody $3 an hour in a different country to answer that phone. Every phone call could, yeah, but I don't know what they need. Yeah, but guess what? How many calls do you get that you don't have leads for? Well, it's just people wanting this. And I was like, great. So you're going to get everything in a little thing that says this is what it. I was like, that's where you make your check sheet, right? Who called? What do they want? When do they want it? Blah, blah, blah. Like, right. So now you're going to go through and go, oh, hey, yep, we're roofs. Yep, we're doing all these. We're not in a spot to be able to do a remodel. Hey, I'm sorry, we can't do a remodel right now. You can source that out to somebody else. Call, still have the lead. You're following up, but you have to do that, right? Take yourself away from the thing that you're just so stressed about.
So we talk about companies you like to get rid of, and Comcast is one of them.
Yeah.
So we have Comcast business phone at the business and internet. And they came and upgraded the phone system.
Yeah.
And I think it's been the greatest thing for this business, because now it's an automated thing where it answers a whole bunch of questions before it goes to voicemail.
Sure.
Or before it rings through to the business. So that if you have these predefined questions like, how old do you have to be, or how much does it cost, or any of these easy questions, it just answers those. And we don't get those phone calls anymore. So like 2 years ago, or even last year, when we were not at the business, my wife's cell phone rang off the fucking hook, and it was annoying because we couldn't do anything with normal life without her answering fucking business calls.
Yep.
And now she doesn't have to answer those anymore because it's just automated and it just answers everything for you. And she has, stuff set up that if you ask questions online, it just answers those questions for you. We got one today. What's the minimum age? And an automated message, 13 to 17, has to have an adult present, blah, blah, blah. How much does it cost? Packages start at $30, group packages start at $50, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have to answer any of that shit. It just got fucking answered.
Yeah.
And that's what we want.
Yep.
And speaking of places we don't fucking like is we hate T-Mobile.
Yeah.
I have an update on the T-Mobile bullshit. They have submitted a ticket, but we won't know more until tomorrow night.
That's not good enough for me. So
does not seem that anybody will be joining us tonight because
apparently
they just said kids crawled on them and they lost track of time. So whatever, that's fine. We're talking about canceling shit.
Yeah.
Actually, we're not, but we're going to talk a little more about canceling shit.
Say, well, and talk. So I want to get into why canceling is hard, but it's great for your budget.
So when we look at, having services that you may or may not want. So like we were going from T-Mobile to Xfinity for our mobile phones because the decision T-Mobile has made of you used to get a $5 credit per line if you had automatic payment. But they've decided they don't want that to be on a credit card anymore. That can only be directly drawn from your bank account or drawn from your debit card. That way they're not experiencing extra fees. Now, I pay everything with my credit card because I get reward points and I don't want it coming out of my checking account or off of my debit card, which is the same thing. I want it coming off of my credit card because I want the reward points and I want extra time to pay that. I always pay my credit card off in full, but I want that option to have a little extra time. So we started looking, we can save $20 off of our bill and actually $40 once they change to, their automatic payment, being changed. So I want to save the $40 a month. Now, T-Mobile's given the runaround on Caitlin's line, which pisses me off. But at the end of the day, hopefully we get it figured out with having to sink, money into a new phone. And as long as we do, then, we're going to move, save $40 a month. And for me, even the $20 is a good enough savings because, I watch every dollar that I spend and every dollar I make. I got rid of DirecTV years ago because it was costing too much money. I went to YouTube TV, which is now up to $73 a month. So I'm reevaluating whether I want YouTube TV or whether I just want to say, you know what, I'll go to something else that gives me what I'm looking for. Because again, I don't watch that much on TV anymore. I watch, a few shows on local and I watch sports.
Yeah.
Even with like Jokers, I don't watch Jokers much anymore.
Impractical Jokers.
Yeah. And when they are on, I just, wait for them to hit Voodoo and I'll just buy them for $8 or whatever it is to watch the episodes. I can watch them as much as I fucking want.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about it so much how I'm not into anything that has recurring fee, or draws. I signed up for a Planet Fitness membership, haven't used it in 3 months now. And I just looked at my account, $25 out of my account, just like that. So, you know, I'm living proof. Hey, all it takes is me to go down there and cancel it, but my pride's in the way. I was watching a video on it actually, and it talks about how they changed to this. And it's like 90% of people that sign up don't use their membership, and that's what they count on. And don't cancel it, right? Because now you sit here and think, well, if I go cancel it, that means I'm proving I won't be working on me. And nobody wants to admit to failure. I don't know how hard it is to get out of it because I haven't done it. I'd love to tell you guys, but it's not a thing I'm doing currently. You know, Hulu, Netflix, all that. We have to get, you have to get on the phone. You don't want to talk to people. David, he's an introvert, right? Like, doesn't want to. So his wife hops on. You have to figure out how to get this done without taking up so much of your time. Buying a car, right? Takes you an entire day to buy a car because you go, you test drive it, and then you have to sit through financing. So my advice is to just go to a local credit union. They're going to give you better rates. You'll go there with your pre-approval, say what you want, go to the dealership, say, hey, how much money is this? Go back to your bank and deal with them because it's going to go a heck of a lot quicker. Everybody says time and money, right? Because to me, it's like, hey, it's $25, but I don't know how long Planet Fitness will take to actually cancel. And sadly, I sound like everybody else. I hope I get back to it. I hope I get into it. Well, and the chances are I'm probably not going to get back into it anytime soon because I haven't set the date to do it. I think all of these things are set to make you fail into getting out of. You look at we talked about timeshares, right? Just automatically taken out. There's so many things that you've set. Hey, it's just hard to get done with. Trash companies are turning this way.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, Republic or Waste Management, right? So if you own them, it's hey, you're fine. You're paying your $36 every 3 months, whatever the price is.
75
every 3 months.
Every 3 months.
You need to change.
You're
in Kent County. You need to change.
Well, I get trash and
recycling
every
2 weeks for recycling.
Yeah,
you need to change.
All right,
I'll send you my people.
Do that.
But that's insane because like when I hear that number, that's a shit ton of money. I know it's a little
$25 a month.
Yeah, that's insane.
Okay.
I pay $240, I think, for an entire year. And that includes both.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get a 13th month for free.
Okay.
So it rotates. But now let's say you have Waste Management or Republic or whatever it is. Well, what they've been doing is, well, hey, if you cancel, you have to pay $50 for us to come get the bins.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't cancel it until you pay the $50. So what the fuck? Like, so people are like, well, I don't want to pay that. Then my savings doesn't equal.
Mm-hmm.
It will after years, but you have to save enough money to do it, right?
Look at how many things have cancellation fees just for that purpose.
Yep. And no matter how long you've been with them, right? But then you call and say, hey, can I get a discount? And they're like, no. Gas prices have gone up. And
when we had the trailer, where we used to live.
Yep.
Because we lived where your sister used to live. I remember we owed about probably $18,000.
Yep.
And we were looking to get out. And, we asked the park, hey, are you willing to buy this? They absolutely were for $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I about lost my shit. It was worth way more than $5,000.
Yep. But you wanted out.
I just wanted them to pay it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I told them, I said, listen, if you don't buy it for what I owe, I'm going to sell it to somebody that's going to pull the motherfucker from this place. And they're like, no, you won't.
You can't find anybody to do it.
Guess what?
You found somebody?
I did. And they pulled the motherfucker from that place.
Did they really?
It took my house and my mother's house to pay mine off because she also had a trailer. But it paid it off, and they pulled the son of a bitch out of there. And they that spot was empty for over 2 years.
There you go.
So they should have just paid me for the fucking thing.
How much did you owe?
18
And somebody paid you 18?
for the 2 houses. It took 2 houses to get that.
Oh, geez.
I mean, they were trailers.
yeah.
And this was 2007 when, it was before the crash.
Yeah.
So nobody was buying them. They were all buying houses.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because, I mean, there was a long time where trailers were free and this and that. And now
they're like 70, 80, 90,000
for a brand new one. But I'm saying, like, I mean, I've seen people sell their trailer for like 60, and I'm just like, this is insane.
Well, and you look at the lot rent now, like we paid like
$600
$300 a month for lot rent.
Yeah.
You're paying as much to live in a fucking trailer as you would be to live in a single family detached house.
Yeah, but they don't see it that way, and it's easier to find it because
It is definitely easier to find
because financing only looks at, they don't look at your lot rent from what I understand. Like,
no, they don't.
It's
They just look at
strictly
the
trailer payment.
Yeah.
They don't care about if you can pay your lot rent, right?
Nope.
And that's why, hey, I can get you approved for, $700. Well, technically that's 1,300, but it's like, nope, 13. We'll do that. And it's just insane to me.
Again, you look at the vehicles.
Yeah.
I saw somebody list the other day, is a 10-year vehicle loan going to become the norm?
Yeah.
Not for me.
Well, it probably will for some people.
For some people, it definitely will.
I remember that day. It was, around, it was either Super Bowl or the holidays, and Mercedes was running a 10-year financing.
Mhm.
And, it was a couple of years. And, I was at a point in my life where I'm just like, holy shit, like they're allowing cars to go 10 years finance. That blows my mind.
What's a car worth after 10 years?
Nothing. Right? I mean,
right.
A Mercedes, right? If we looked up a 10-year-old Mercedes and let's just say you didn't drive it, right? I mean, you're guaranteed a fifth of what they cost, right?
So my
Let's say
Equinox
it's
is
100,000. You might find some sucker. Nah, it wouldn't even be worth 20, right? Like,
so my Equinox right now is 20. It's 2013. It's
Yep.
2023.
Yep.
So technically 11 years old.
Yeah.
135,000 miles.
Yep.
I could probably get 8, maybe 10.
Okay.
Because it's still in really good shape.
135. And how much do you pay for it?
I paid 19.
But that wasn't brand new, right?
No, that was used.
Yeah. So how much was it brand new?
32.
Okay. I mean, now an Equinox probably closer to 50, right?
Probably 40 to 50. Yeah.
40, 50. Okay. So like
For brand new. Yeah.
But so, I mean, yeah, you're at a fifth right there, right? So
Yeah.
in 10 years, and you've driven it normally, you don't overdrive. I mean,
I've driven to Cincinnati a couple times with it. I drive to Chicago quite a bit.
but you're at 10,000 miles a year is what, I mean.
Yeah, I'd say about 14, but yeah, it's somewhere
Yeah,
in there.
because you're 130 and it's been 11 years. It's 11
Well, I
years
got
old.
it with 13.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, you're
And I
at-
got it in 16.
So, I mean, your average is right around there. And so 1/5 the actual value, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how I look at things is just go, huh? Because I was having this conversation about boats. Oh, because and hey, get a pontoon, right? And it's like, man, they're just going down in value, right? They're never gonna hold the, like I have a buddy that owns a $100,000 pontoon. I think it might be $87,000 pontoon, right? And then I have a buddy that owns a $5,000 pontoon.
Yeah.
And they both go on the water.
Mhm.
They both go. The difference is one is this year and one is 1990s,
Yeah.
right? Like, but on the water, they both go on the water, right? So like, and that's where to me it's like functionality, but to some people it's just, hey, what does it look like? How does it and how does it do it?
And we're talking about saving money on this. I mean,
Yeah.
not necessarily canceling, but saving money. You and I had a talk before we left last week about you didn't feel the cruise was a good cost, whereas you can go to all inclusive and spend way less.
Yeah.
And Dawn and I were talking about it today, and I said, Nick's willing to do things on a vacation that I'm just not willing to do. I want to stay at a certain type of place.
Mhm.
I want to be able to be on the move. I want to get on and get off. So, I mean, I don't necessarily feel safe in another country.
Sure.
But if I'm on the boat and I get to the port area or I take an excursion, I feel safe enough to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly on the move, which I like because I don't want to just sit still. Even if I'm sitting still in the pool, I'm on the move in the pool. I mean, the boat's fucking moving, going somewhere.
Mhm.
Whereas, when I look at an all inclusive, I'm like, yeah, I could spend 4 days in a row on the beach. That doesn't necessarily appeal to me, even though it's kind of the same fucking thing.
Yeah, you're just in the same port the whole time.
Right.
I mean, and the Dominican, right? I would get, but like if you're going for 4 days, I think you'll be fine. Now, if you talk about the Dominican for 7 days, I would tell you, hey, that might not be there,
Yeah.
right? Mexico, on the other hand, right, where we went, 7 days, perfectly fine. You would have so much to do. You would venture out more than, right, and the things, or plan for the more excursions, right?
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing I would tell you. Like, so you say, hey, like plan one excursion a day, and you'll get off, and you'll think of it as different ports. And
See, and at that point, I'm sitting there going, okay, well, I'm not just spending what I would spend on the cruise.
Nah, I mean, depending, right? But like, Mexico, granted, and Mexico wasn't fair. We sat through a timeshare. We talked about
Yeah,
that, and like,
yeah.
but if I did the math, I still saved. Granted, I didn't bring my kid, but like on average per person, I still saved by going there. And God, we had such an amazing time. Like even
Well, and,
even the food, right? Like
I can take really cheap flights.
Yeah.
But I want to be in the morning.
right,
So I'm going to spend a little more to get in when I want to get in.
Yeah.
And take the airline I want to take.
right.
And you're going to look at it and go, yeah, I can get in late. It's no big deal.
Nope. That's not always true.
Not always, but
So-
way more than it would be for me.
So, well, I guess the difference is I do the math
Mhm.
differently than you do.
Mhm.
Okay, so you say, hey, I want to get in early in the morning and I want to do this. How much is the price difference?
I don't know, a couple $100 maybe.
Okay, so I fly the night before,
Mhm.
or so I take that night one, but I was going a day early, and I buy a hotel, so I'm $70, but I've saved 130 per ticket. And yes, I'm not there in the morning, but like now I have the exact same time. I'm already there the time I would have been in, and it just cost me. So I've saved, at that moment, right? So now my wife's $200 and I'm 200. That's 400. I've now only saved 330, but that's still 330, and I'm there the night before.
We'll see. And I remember when I took Dawn and Caitlin to Hawaii,
Mhm.
we show up, and of course, we're taking an early flight because I want to be in by 4:00 Hawaiian time.
Yep.
And we're the first people at the desk, and they're like
4 a.m. or 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
Oh, okay,
So, we're leaving at like 7 a.m.
sure.
And, it's about 13 hours total for
Is
the
it
day.
really?
Yeah. And she goes, hey, this flight's overbooked. If you're willing to arrive in the morning, we can give you all of these great things. And I'm like, no, not doing that.
No.
But we'll even put you up in a hotel. No, I'm not doing that. That has no interest to me whatsoever.
Yep.
And Dawn's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking sure. I want to be in when I want to be in. I want to do the shit I want to fucking do. So, we were in Hawaii for 10 days.
Right.
You want to know how many sunsets we saw?
2.
Possibly, because I think we saw one on the second night, but it was on the dinner cruise and it was kind of overcast.
Yeah.
So the only day we got a really good sunset was the first fucking day we were there.
Yeah.
And we were on the beach and we took, sunset photos and, did the touristy shit because I wanted them to be able to do the touristy shit. We ventured out, we got to the hotel. It was like 5:30. We got cleaned up a little bit, went out for dinner, spent way too much at dinner because I wanted to do the touristy shit.
Yeah.
Got pictures of the sunset, walked down, Waikiki, and we did the things I felt were important to fucking do, but I want to be there when I want to be there.
Yeah. But to me, I mean, and that's where it comes. Like, so yours, I just look at the savings and I just go in a day early, right? So if I'm going to Mexico, things kind of change. I mean, I usually pay the little extra because I'm kind of the same. But like if it's a US thing, so going to Florida, I have no problem, because last time we got in at like 11 o'clock at night,
Mhm.
but technically that trip was supposed to be whatever. And so I added the extra day because I was like, all right, so we're out a couple bucks for a hotel. But I mean, again, we got our flights for $87 versus what would have been, like $300 a piece. So like I saved $900, let's just say, or $700 by leaving at night type, and sure, I bought a hotel, but like That's how I look at it. Is just, hey, I will just make it a little longer. Courtney still worked up until the point she needed to. You know, we left at six instead of, you know, the next morning type thing because of how much it saves, right?
Well, and I know when we go
When I
this time,
yeah.
Caitlin's leaving like late that afternoon.
Sure.
We'll already be there.
Yeah.
And that's fine for her. That's when she wants. That's cool. She's saving a bunch of money doing that.
Yep.
She'll get in about 8 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
And I told her, I'm like, they got a flight. You can get in at like 10:50. If you get in at 10:50 at night, you better book your own fucking hotel room because you're not waking my ass up.
Well, how much is she saving?
Between the 10:50 and the 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
she'd probably save $100. So not enough to care.
Right. And so, and honestly, you guys are going to be there, so you might as well. You might as well, because you're going to have the car and stuff like that, right?
We're not even going to have a car. It's free shuttle to the hotel.
Oh, okay.
So when they get off, they can just shuttle to our hotel. We'll have 2 beds. They'll share. We'll share.
Yeah. But it's, you know, because otherwise she should look at getting the day before.
Yeah.
Because sure, it's 100. So that's 200. She's bringing somebody else then.
Yeah.
So it's $200. Now you think about it. Get a hotel for a night for $70. So you split that between the two of you. You've both spent 35 extra, and you've saved $65.
Mhm.
There's no difference between leaving that night before because it's the exact same arrival,
Mhm.
right? And I do understand that there's a difference in my position now, but you know, even when I was at Gentex, I did the exact same thing. Like, hey, boss, I know I have this dates off, but like, you know, my flight leaves at 2. I could work till noon, man. My wife has everything packed. We just have to get to the airport. Like, yeah, that's no big deal. Like, thanks for giving me 90% of a day. Right?
Right.
Like, because, and I look at him and go, hey, man, I'm saving $800 by doing this. All right, cool. So you have a good, like, thanks for letting me know you'll work at least half the day or something like that, you know, versus calling in type thing. You know, Caitlin's a manager aspect, so it changes things and responsibilities there. But like, I would have no problem going to my person and saying, hey, the amount of savings I can get by doing this, I need to do this. I'm just letting you know I won't be here because of the savings.
Well, and you know, you and I, we're really good at looking all of those things, but how many people do you know are actually sitting there really diving into what they can and can't save, how they can and can't cancel? Like, I got a hotel room booked for middle of next month because we're going to Fan Expo.
Where's that at?
That's in Rosemont, which is just northwest of the city.
Chicago.
Yep.
Okay.
And I can cancel up through August 4th.
Sure.
Because if I did no cancellation, I could have got it for like $130.
Sure.
I did up to August 4th and I got it for $147. So for the extra $17,
sure.
Cool. And I couldn't find my confirmation. So I actually got a hold of the hotel today to get all the information. And I'm like, okay, cool. I have until the 4th, which I'm not going to cancel, but just in case.
I mean, you never do as
Yeah,
often
you
as
never
your
know what
wife or
happens.
kid gets fucking hurt.
Right.
You end up in the hospital lately. And
Right. You never know. So I want that little bit of extra buffer.
$17. Yep.
So I'm like, okay, well, you know, that works for me. I never get a no cancellation at fucking anything.
Sure.
Because unless I'm 100% that I can do that, no. I need the ability to cancel.
Yeah. And you know, for the most part, I don't know. I'm 50-50 probably. I mean, like, if we moved to Chicago, right? My Hilton was like 24 hours up until I can cancel. And I was like, great. Like, you know, and I know that I'll be the fighter if I get there and this place is shit. Like, I'm going to cancel. Like, you're going to cancel the end. Congrats. You got me for one night, but I'm canceling the rest of the 3, right? That type of a thing. Oh yeah, we Ubered. I was like, man, because it didn't have a shuttle, right?
Right.
I was like, but it worked out really, really well for us.
Well, see, and I made sure when I'm looking, because it is in the northwest suburbs, you know, if I stay right around the convention center, I'm paying for parking.
Yeah.
If I stay 10 minutes away, it's free parking. Now, yeah, I'm gonna have to pay to park when I get to the convention, but I was gonna pay twice that to park near the fucking convention anyway.
Stupid expensive.
So I'm going to pay $15 to park for the day, or I would have paid $35 to stay there and pay an extra $100 on the room.
Well, yeah, I say it was only like $25 to park or whatever at,
Yeah.
at the convention. And I think personally, when I stayed at the Hilton, it was before my discounts, like $35 a
Yeah.
day, right?
It's
like, and
expensive as
I
shit.
wasn't close, right?
Right.
But it cost me $8 for an Uber each way, and you know, so it's just I look at everything like I really penny pinch everything.
Same.
You know? If I can, right? There's some things I just give up on because I'm just like, I don't care about $10 because I've already spent 15 hours diving into this. So no, like, you know, you go back to an all inclusive, and I really think you should give it a shot. Like, yes, you say you want to be on the move, but like, and that's what I told you guys. Don't do what I do maybe get a little bit nicer of a one, spend a little bit extra because you're fine with that. You're not looking at the money aspect of things. You're not looking at, hey, I'm just here and it's gorgeous and I'm just going to do this. So like you're looking at, hey, so get a little bit more activities because there's so many things, right?
Dawn and I started looking into one, but we were looking at the U.S. Virgin Islands because
It's
it's
so expensive.
still the U.S.
So expensive.
It wasn't too bad.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you call not too bad?
Less than 3 with flights?
Well, that's not horrible.
No, it wasn't
Yeah.
bad.
Because so there's a cruise ship in the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
It's like 10 nights or something like
Okay.
that. It's like $3,000 a person.
Jesus.
That's what I said.
Fuck that.
Yeah. And I was like, that's insane. Like, nah, hard pass for me,
Who's,
dog.
who's jumping in the Great Lakes right now at 68 degrees?
Me?
No,
Let's see.
not me.
Why not?
Fuck that. It needs to be warmer.
Let's see.
There are times your pool's not warm enough for me.
Yeah. Let's see. It's green currently.
Nobody gives a shit.
No, we went.
I'll jump in when it's green. I don't fucking
Your
care.
daughter didn't show up the other day. I was
Yeah.
gonna tell you that.
I texted her and she's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going because my knee hurts and I'm laying here and that feels better. Okay.
No, but it's and so like rate cancellation. So there's things that you need to protect yourself with, and I talked about it. I never get myself into things because I don't want to be in the spot I'm in right now, right? Like this Planet Fitness thing, I've now paid 2 or 3 months, so $50 or $75. I wasted fucking money and never used it, right?
Well, again, you don't get insurance on your phone.
Nope.
Whereas I've always had insurance on my phone.
I had it for years.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I had insurance on my phone. My wife never did. She broke her phone all the fucking time. But I say it's pointless. It's pointless for me to have it. For my personal uses and the amount of time I've had it and done it, it's pointless.
Yeah.
I've wasted more money than I've gotten use of. We went and bought furniture yesterday, and they're talking about fabric protection and stuff like that, and it sounded great, right? Everything always sounds great.
It
So,
does.
finally, it came down to, I was like, hey, is this a claim with you or is this a claim with a third party company? He goes, third party company. I said, great, I'm out.
Yep.
Because I have no problem punching you in the face. It's going to be really hard for me to find this call company.
Right.
Right. Like that's basically it. Like if you're not willing to take responsibility for your actions and look me straight in the face and say, I you over, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So have you changed your mind? Like, great. And I was like, great. Yep. But that's how I look at things is nope. What's my value that I'm getting? Sure. Sounds like a great value, but we broke our van furniture or whatever type. Oh, we can't do anything about it. We can't do this. Okay. It's always an excuse if we've never been able to see anybody that's gotten use out of what they had. Right.
So my daughter, when she moved into her place, right before the pandemic, I decided, okay, we'll go to Art Van. We'll get you, I'll get you a new couch. And I found a chair that she kind of likes. So I got a love seat and a chair. And I want to say let's say we spent $500. And she wanted the protection plan on it, which was another $150. Great.
Yep.
And a month later, they file for bankruptcy and they're closing.
Yep.
So I get a hold of my credit card and I'm like, no, I want that $150 back because their fucking insurance is worth dog shit now.
Yep.
Because they're going out of business. And they're like, cool. And they refunded all of my fucking money, including the money I spent on the furniture.
Really?
Yeah. So I got her couch and her chair for nothing.
That's great.
It was great.
I got to get a credit card. I'm so tired of
Those are the reasons that I have them because they will protect me.
I don't know if I said it on air or whatever. My debit card got stolen again. Yep, for the 90th time in my life. And the first question is, oh, did your wife get your debit card? Well, granted, this is my business account, okay? So did she accidentally grab a card? My wife doesn't go in my wallet, okay? My wife doesn't touch any of my stuff. And then it's another fight. I'm fighting over like $150 or something like that. And I was like, I think if it was a credit card, they'd just be like, yep, we're used to this. It's a scam.
Yeah, it happens.
So it just kind of bothers me.
It's annoying. It's beyond. But I mean, you do what you have to do. And I feel great coverage for my card. So I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a little update.
Yeah.
So Vanessa sends me a message.
Great.
And she's so excited that she bought stock in her company.
Okay.
Because they're doing a 4-for-1 stock split now.
Perfect.
And I told her, I don't know if she understood this. I'm like, you still own the same.
Yeah.
You just own more shares of it. So if it was $100 before and they did a 4-for-1 stock split, now it's worth 25 bucks.
Yeah.
You just own 4 of them at 25 instead of 1 at 100.
Yep.
And she really didn't respond after that. But I mean, I think she knew that going in, but I wasn't sure. But she was excited she had extra stock. And I, I was excited for her because that really made her day.
Well, and now if you make a penny, you're making 4 pennies.
Correct.
That's plain and simple. But if you lose a penny, you're losing 4 pennies,
Correct.
right? So when a stock splits, there's so many reasons for it, right? It's, hey, we think the value's gotten too high, or we need to offer more of
of the stock,
right? And so you hope it's hey, we need to offer more type thing, and then you hope that it gets back up there, right? Most stock splits are that way, like they end up growing and doing that, and so you're quadrupling your growth in that factor. So I don't know, I get so frustrated with these companies, man, that they're never willing to work with you and what they say, right? I mean, again, we talk about the timeshare episode, and it's like, hey, if it's not written in the contract, it's not a fucking thing, right? Like,
they can tell you whatever they want
until they're blue in the face, but if it's not written down, you have no proof.
Well, I'll use break room as an example. So let's say you book an appointment here.
Yep.
Let's say you book for Friday, and something comes up. Our cancellation policy says you may not cancel within 24 hours. You're just out.
Yep.
Let's say something comes up Friday morning and you call, it's 10 a.m. in the morning, you got a 5 o'clock appointment. What's the worst that's going to happen if you call and say, hey, I'm not going to make it. What can we do?
Yeah.
Okay, you're just out the money, which you're already out. But, when you call us and you're like, hey, something came up, I have to, have a procedure done today. I'm not going to make the appointment.
My dog passed away.
Right. What can we do? Most of the time, Dawn's going to go, well, there's a $20 reschedule fee. There's a $25 reschedule fee. We'll issue you a gift card so you'll get the difference. You're not out. I mean, you're out the 25 bucks or whatever it is, but you're not out, let's say, the $100 that it was.
True.
And those are the things with people that kind of annoy me the most. I don't like making phone calls, and I don't like, putting myself out there. But if I'm already in a bad spot, let's say, I'm already out $100, a quick phone call, maybe I'm only out 25 now.
Yeah.
And that puts me in a better mood. I'm not happy.
Yeah.
But it's way better than being out $100.
Well, let's talk about, so I had $700 in my pocket, and I got out of my car. Tenant showed up last month and comes to the door, and he's like, found this $100 bill laying in your thing. It's like, shit. So I grab it in my pocket, and I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like, yep, that's mine. Somebody just paid. And he goes, I didn't know if it was a test or you had a camera or whatever. I was like, I don't, man. You could have walked away with it, and I would have whatever. And so he's like, here's the late fee or whatever. And I gave him $50 back.
Yeah.
Late fee. And I was like, here you go. We'll split it. He showed up this month, and I screwed up. Because he showed up without the late fee or whatever. And he's like, it doesn't have late fee. And I was like, well, sounds like we're even for that $100 that you had. I waived 2 late fees. I still broke even on my thing.
Right.
I don't want to make late fees, right? I want you to pay on fucking time.
Right.
Like, and my job isn't to make these late fees. And so like now we're even on the $100. Like, and so I look at it and just say, hey, he didn't have to. He could have just pocketed it. I would have been, I would have lost $100. Right. But giving him over 2 months now, I've given $100. Right? Like,
Dawn got pissed at me on Sunday because I was rooting for somebody to be a no-show because they were so fucking late. They weren't late, but they were within a couple minutes of their appointment time.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're an asshole. Why are you doing that? And I said, because I've worked all weekend and I'm exhausted, and that's a room I wouldn't have to clean.
Yep.
And that's literally where it was coming from. I was just so damn tired. I didn't want to clean the fucking room.
Yep.
And they made it, and they had a great time, and they were so happy to be here. And I'm happy for that, and I cleaned the room happily.
Yep.
But I would have been just as happy not fucking doing it because I was tired.
And I say I get it. There's times where it's just like, man, I need the break.
Yeah.
But I say, I know we didn't have the normal guest that we were supposed to have, but we had another interesting episode about, hopefully you got a little bit of knowledge. I mean, we talked about
a lot of shit.
Right. I mean, our life failures. And I mean, again, we teach you to do this stuff.
Mhm.
Understand that we're normal.
Mhm.
I haven't canceled my Planet Fitness membership. Haven't used it.
Mhm.
All it takes is go do it. Like now that we've talked about this, I'm gonna go do it, or I'm gonna go use it, and I'm gonna set August 1st is my deadline. Right? I'm gonna be honest about it. August 1st is my deadline. So if I'm not back in the gym by then, I'm canceling it August 1st.
Well, and we talk about those things. I was on the phone with Mike the other day, and I'm like, I don't fucking understand. 100,000 used to be the sweet spot for me. If we were over that, I didn't have to worry about shit I did.
No.
And right now, I'm still sitting paycheck to paycheck.
No.
And he goes, "Yeah, same."
Mhm.
That used to be the sweet spot, but right now it's not.
Well, and it's because your life has changed. I mean, you never went on vacations. Now you're going on fucking 6 of them in 2 years.
Well, I mean that, and all of the fucking medical bills I have right now because I keep getting sick.
Stupid. Yep. And I don't know. I went and spent quite a bit of money on stuff, but I don't know if I said it. Like we bought furniture yesterday, right?
Yep.
Which cost quite a bit of money. My wife paid for half and I paid for half. The only reason, I mean, so I always told her, I was like, look, so I bought whatever. And then, I ended up, because it was to me, it was such a good deal. I'm not going to go find what we bought for my basement for any cheaper of a price. Right. And so I was like, I'll just pay for that. Right. You wanted the upstairs stuff. You pay for that. I'll pay for the downstairs, which is what I wanted. And I think of it and just say, hey, the reason I bought the extra stuff too,
Right.
It was no matter how much I bought, it was a one-time delivery cost. So I was like, fuck, even if I think about it for a couple days, I'm probably gonna buy it. Right. So like, why not? Or eventually I'll buy stuff for the basement. So I might as well get it now.
Yeah, save on that delivery.
Yeah, 100%. And say when we talk about spending, right? I told you the way this place works is it's $2 a mile and they deliver it to your front door. It's $4 a mile and they walk it into your house, set it up, put the legs on, take all the plastic with them, take everything. So I paid the $4. Yes, for me it was $100 extra. You're damn right I'm paying.
But you don't have to move it.
I didn't have to do a damn thing. And I told my wife, I was like, I'll pay that.
Every time.
Because she was like, oh, I mean, do you really want to pay? And I was like, even if we only got the first thing, I was like, if you want me to pay $100, I don't want to do this. Right. Right. So
we had that conversation about my landscaping.
Yeah.
I asked you for a guy because I don't have time and I don't want to fucking do it.
Did he get you a quote yet?
Not yet. I talked to him. He texted me Monday. He's like, hey, I was out of town this weekend. I'm working on that quote. I'm like, cool. Just let me know.
There you go. So anything else that you want to hit on with this?
No, not really. Hopefully we'll have our guest that was supposed to be tonight next week. And then we're going to talk about a new multi-level marketing thing the week after that. So, some fun episodes coming up again. Thanks for joining as always, Nick.
Yeah, as always in the beginning, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your family. We appreciate you listening. Hope you enjoy us being honest with you guys and telling you how things really are. We appreciate your feedback. Please leave us a review and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, and if you have ideas for shows or questions, please reach out because we love to do that. And if you want to be on Bucks and Brews, please reach out because we like to do that too. So we will talk to you guys again next week.
You've dialed in
To Bucks and Brews, you might hear something
you can use.
like tips on your cash or tips on the suds.
You're gonna want to
The
use
smarts of these
because
stuff.
they know the brews.
And they know the Bucks, and they know they can't help the stubborn fucks.
So listen up, cause shit's not funny.
Save yourself some
Beer money, bucks,
and brews.
Bucks and
Bucks
Brews.
and brews.
brews.
Bucks and Brews.